Hey guys, Jordan from Condo here. Today I want to talk about the assignment market. It is getting worse, and that poses a really interesting opportunity for buyers looking to take advantage of distressed sellers and get really good deals on brand new condos. Now, I find a lot of buyers shy away from assignment deals because they're not very straightforward. They're not listed on MLS, and a lot of realtors shy away from promoting assignment deals as well to their clients because frankly, they don't know how to do them and they include a lot of math. But the truth is, once you've done 10, 20, or 100 assignments, they're all very straightforward, and I promise you the math is much simpler than you would think. So let me show you some really good deals. Let me show you how not to think about assignments, how to save yourself a lot of pain, time, and money. So I have been quoted by mainstream media multiple times about condo assignments and just the growing stress in the segment. So if you're not familiar, an assignment sale is simply you bought a pre-construction condo, 5 years ago, it's coming up on closing. You don't want to close on it, or you can't close on it, which is really interesting. We'll get into that in a bit. So you want to sell it. And so you can do that via assignment sale. Now, typically they can't be listed on MLS. And so the great thing about the assignment market is that it is an imperfect market. It is a low liquidity market, can't be listed on MLS. And so depending on who you list with, so, if you list it with your cousin Jimmy, the realtor who doesn't really sell a lot of pre-construction, he might not have a big email list or distribution channels to get that assignment in front of a lot of eyes. And so sometimes you can find really good deals on assignment just because the person marketing it doesn't really know how to get it in front of a lot of eyeballs. And so their only method of selling it is just aggressively competing on price. And so that's why I really like assignments, because you can pick off some amazing deals. Now, there's also a lot of bad deals on the assignment market, just people kind of throwing their assignment up there at purchase price plus 200K, hoping for the best. So you really have to know where and how to look for these deals. And in my opinion, the first thing to do when you're looking for a really good assignment deal is to just forget about original purchase price versus assignment price for a minute. It'll become important in the deal and in the structure, but it's not really going to give you a good barometer of what kind of deal you're getting. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So the blue line here is all of the pre-construction launches in Etobicoke from 2017 through 2021 and the price per square foot of a one bedroom on launch. Now, what I find frequently with first-time assignment buyers is they'll tell me, hey, just find me someone who's willing to lose half of or most of their deposit, because obviously that is a good deal. That's not always the case, right? Because it leaves out the part, when did they purchase and which building did they purchase at? Because obviously if someone purchased in 2017, they got a much lower price than someone who purchased in 2021. So how much money they're losing is not actually a good barometer of what deal you're getting as a buyer. So Verge here and 859 West are both in the same area of Etobicoke on the Queensway. So we're going to focus on those. And 859 West is coming up on occupancy now. So let's say you find an assignment deal you really like at 859 West, but the seller has listed the price at $100 a square foot more than he paid at $800 per square foot. And let's extend this graph out to 2023 here. So some people will say, hey, I don't want to pay $800 a square foot. I don't want to pay profit to this guy. He's marking up this unit 12%. Has he seen the market? I don't want to pay these prices, right? That's what a lot of people will say. But the reality is this guy purchased way back in 2018 and he did it at $700 a square foot. Now, on the contrary, if you find somebody who's assigning their unit at Verge and they paid $1,150 a foot, let's say they mark it down 10% to $1,050 a foot, right? On paper, if you're not comparing these deals at the exact same time, if you don't see them at the exact same time and you're just looking for somebody who's losing money, this is the one you're going to stumble on and you're going to think it's a good deal because, well, this person's losing 10% on price, plus they're eating the 5% realtor commission. So really, more than half of their deposits are being lost here. I'm taking advantage of this person. I'm getting a really good deal. But of course, when you actually look at these two in comparison, there is a $250 per square foot spread, and it becomes clear that 859 West, despite the seller making money, is a way better deal for you as the buyer. And the way I like to put this is, imagine if you were looking for a resale home in a neighborhood, you found two you really liked on the same street, and the first thing you did, rather than looking at price and value, the first thing you did was you said to your realtor, hey, look, pull up the Geo Warehouse. I want to know how much these people paid for their homes, and I'm going to buy the one who's making the least amount of profit. Despite the fact that one person may have bought in 1990 and paid off their home, right? And the other person may have bought in 2017 and still has a hefty mortgage, you're just saying, hey, I want to buy the least profitable deal for the seller because that's the best deal. Of course, that has little to no barometer on what deal you're actually getting. The point I'm making here, and the point I make on this channel a lot, is essentially evaluate the deal on the merits and the numbers of the deal, not in isolation, but in comparison to other things available on the market, both resale and other assignment options, rather than focusing on some useless metric like how much is the seller losing. All right, now I've pulled up a couple of examples here and I've blurred out any identifying criteria. So here's a unit at Nobu. Now Nobu was a 2017 launch, right? And Nobu assignments, for whatever reason, are getting crushed right now. People are letting go of these things for really cheap, in my opinion. So this one's asking $960,000 for 814 square feet. Now, a lot of people will look at this, say the seller wants a 100K profit. What are they, out to lunch? No, they're not out to lunch. It's still a really good deal. And this is a deal I would look at very seriously, especially if you can get these guys in the low nines around that 1100 PSF mark. And the reason is because when you compare it to resale, there's a really good value here. So for example, we look at Bisha here as our chosen comparable, 6 years old, and the building's not as good. And you just go for, first we'll look at, the last 365 days, averaging $1,200 a square foot on the resale market. And if we look for a 2-bedroom, for example, the most recent sale in August of this year, 1.255 million for, where's the square footage? 944 square feet. So you got 1329 per square foot. So again, if we can get this unit in the 1100 per square foot range, that's really good value. Here's another example at Nobu. This one's 510 square feet. You probably can't see that. So they're asking $600,000 for it. The original purchase price was $500,000. So again, $100,000 profit. And of course, if these guys can't close, there's going to be room to negotiate in this deal, provided nobody else swoops in and offers at the same time as you. It's worth noting at this point that while the assignment market has more inventory than I've ever seen, there's a lot of buyers looking for good assignment deals, right? Like, people are very well aware that these things are priced really well right now. There's opportunity in this market. And so if you price an assignment and you list it and you get in front of a lot of people and it's priced at really good value, call it 5 to 10 to 15% below comparable resale, you're going to catch a bid, right? Just the other week, in the last 2 weeks, we've done about 7 assignments. But last week, someone on my team actually bid on an assignment for a buyer of ours. So this one wasn't our listing. And we ended up competing. There were 3 other offers on an assignment deal. So there was multiple offers on an assignment listing. And so there are a lot of people looking for assignment deals. It's just that the expectations between a lot of assignment sellers, essentially your want to sells, and buyers is just, there's a big gap there. So it's all about finding deals like this where you can kind of close that gap through negotiation. Now, worth noting, right? Last year, there was a building in the entertainment district that pre-sold a whole tower at about $2,000 per square foot. And you can pick up assignment deals at Nobu, a great building in the entertainment district, for $1,200 a square foot or less all day long. Here's another one, 2020 launch at 199 Church. You've got 360 square foot studio asking $530. They paid $530. So there's some wiggle room there. They're clearly desperate because they're already willing to eat a 5% commission fee. But regardless, again, $530,000. I'd much rather try to pick this unit up at at a much lower per square foot in the mid to high 500s. Now here's an example of getting your cake and eating it too. Here you have a 2018, 2019 launch, right? So an earlier launch. You have a 486 square foot, 1-bedroom, great layout. They paid $590 for it, and they're asking $520 for it, right? This is an earlier launch, right? Where they're also selling for less than they paid. So they're selling at $70,000 less than they paid, plus they're eating, $26,000 in commissions. And they probably had, on a $590, they would add like $118,000 down. So they're wiping away almost all of their deposits, right? And you get to pick up a unit in a great building for marginally, for $1,050 a square foot or so, where you're going to see $2,400-$2,500 a month in rent. So again, just a really good example of a distressed assignment sale that is both someone who needs to sell and also an earlier launch. All right, so you found an assignment you really like, you're sure it's a good deal. What's the next step? Well, the next step is, of course, to submit an offer and make it conditional on lawyer review. Just like when you're buying a pre-construction contract from a builder, when you're buying an assignment, it's even more important, in my opinion, to have lawyer review. I mean, in any instance, there's no reason you should buy without it, but in this case, you want to make sure you have lawyer review because assignments can get a little bit hairy. So this is a closing cost review from David Feld, a friend of mine who's a lawyer I recommend, David Feld and Mark Morris. Those two are the lawyers I would recommend when you're looking at purchasing pre-construction or you're looking at purchasing an assignment. What you want to do is you want to look at your closing costs and the high ticket item you want to look at is right here. So your parkland levies, your park levies and your development charges. In particular, you want to make sure that they're capped. And most importantly, that they are transferable caps. Now, if this transferable cap was not there, then what would actually happen is you would pay DCs. You would pay the full development charges at the time of when the developer paid that, which right now, if you look at DCs for a 1-bedroom, $40,000 and a 2-bedroom, $56,000 versus the $10K cap that would exist if, again, you had lawyer review and made sure that was there. So one of the most important things, not the only thing you want the lawyer to look at, but certainly one of the most important things. Now I'm going to show you the structure, because this is where people get kind of confused and worried, particularly realtors, about how do I, what do these deals actually look like? In my sample deal, we have an original purchase price at $500 and a assignment price at $550. So we're going to assume the fairly standard 20% deposits. So the original deposits would be $120,000, and then profit would be $50,000. So let's say we buy this deal shortly before occupancy. Now this is the exact structure I used on a recent deal, but you can change this to whatever works for you and whatever the seller is agreeable to. So we submitted 5% deposit with the deal. 5 days later, lawyer review came back clean, 5 business days. So we waived that condition. Now, the other condition that's going to be there on almost every assignment is builder consent. So despite the fact that the seller will have in their original agreement of purchase and sale the right to assign their agreement, they still need written builder consent once you have a signed assignment agreement of purchase and sale, right? So in this case, it came 2 weeks after our lawyer review. So we went firm on the deal because that condition was fulfilled by the builder. And the way we structured it in our deal was that the balance to the original deposits of $120,000 will be paid at the time of builder consent. So $95K here. And the way we structured it for the balance so now these are gone. So the way we structured it for the balance of $50,000 profit was that we would do the $50K on the final closing and registration of the unit. So not during occupancy, not a specified date, but rather when the building actually closes and registers completely. Now, you can structure this in a million different ways, right? So you could say, $25K on this date, $25K on builder consent, $25K on occupancy, balance on final close, or you could do fixed dates, right? So you could say $25K, 30 days after that, we'll do another $25K, 30 days after that, so on and so forth. You get the point. Basically, the point I'm trying to make here is you can structure anything from the date of purchase to the date of closing however you want in terms of installment. Now, what's important to note is, as a buyer of an assignment, if you default, right, if you fail to close over on final closing, the original purchaser is actually still liable in most cases to close on that contract. So as your capital outlay increases, you have more negotiation power on price. So the more cash you're willing to give up front, the less conditions, just like a resale deal, the more likely you're going to get a better price because the seller is going to feel more confident in your ability to close on that property, right? Now, if you're looking to buy or sell an assignment, my contact details are in the description below as usual. I hope this video helps, guys, and I'll see you next video.